In a previous Google short, I showed you how to quickly grab the body text of a Google Doc using Google App Scripts and the DocumentApp Service. So as you can see in this quick little function here, if we hit run for runsies and go through authorization for the first time, you can see that this quick and easy little script will allow us to grab most of the body text in the Google Doc. But if you look carefully, you'll notice there are a couple of things missing. So if we've got this body text here retrieved drop down, and there's a little gap here that's not indicating this not started drop down value. Further, if you go down here, we can see paragraph of, and then there's a big blank space, but there's all these weird, unusual smart chips that are here available. So we haven't been able to extract them either. Another thing we might want to extract is also the links here. So we've got some HTML links just in the normal text that we may want to also include in this text that we're logging on the left-hand side. So there are a number of approaches to retrieving body text with Google Apps Script and some additional text as well that we might want. The problem is there isn't one perfect solution. In this tutorial, we're going to go through using the DocumentApp Service to retrieve a limited set of chips along with the general text links as well. You can see in this example, this part 2 that we're going to create, we can grab our standard text here, just like we did with this basic approach. But we will also be able to grab the date chip, the rich links chip, which are any link to a Google Drive file or a YouTube video, and the person chip. We'll also be able to grab our text links. We can grab emojis, table of contents, but we won't be able to grab equations. And in this example, we won't be able to extract the code snippets. Now, if you want to play along, and I encourage that you do, you can grab a copy of the link in the description. This will get you actually to the written tutorial where you can just scroll down to the starter sheet and make a copy of it here. Okay, let's dive in. Once you have your Google Doc here, go to extensions and click on app scripts, and this will open up here. It will already come with this basic runsies function that we demoed at the beginning, but now we're going to start writing this here. Now, unfortunately, instead of just grabbing all the text in one fell swoop here, we have to iterate through each type of element in this Google document and extract the data as we go through it. So this means that this function is going to be a fair bit bigger than this tiny little one you see up here. Let's get some clicky-clacky going. So the first thing we're going to do is create a let variable, that's one that can change, and call that text. And this will be all the text that we extract from the Google Doc. Okay, we're going to put a bit of space in here. We're going to actually put in a callback function up here in a moment, but let's just finish off this function first. So the next thing we're going to do is very similar to this here. We're just going to grab the document app, get active document, and get body. Now, if you wanted to make this function more versatile, you could put a parameter in here with the document body and use another function to call this document or any other document in your Google Drive. But we'll keep it all contained just for this tutorial. So what we need here, let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's just copy this and paste this in here. All right, so note that I didn't include the get text this time because we're going to do this a slightly different way. Now, what we might do for our testing in this tutorial is just console log. And we're going to be console logging our text. So let's just make a note of what we're logging. So this is going to be a text log. And what are we going to log? It's going to be our text. Nice. And just in case we want to return this back to another function, we'll just say return text. Cool. Let's just talk about elements with Google Docs. There are a number of different type of elements that you can find in a Google Doc. So for example, this is a table of contents element here. This in its entirety is a paragraph element. Let's have a look down. This is a table and nested list of table elements here. This is a code block element, and this is an equation element. And if you go to the documentation, and if we go down to element type as an enumerator, it's probably the best way to list the current allowed equations, body sections, comment sections, date, and so on. We know that we're missing the chips in our original runsies function here with this basic get text from the body. So if we have a look, we've got a person chip here, and we've got a date chip here, and we've got a rich link chip here. Up here, we've got a drop-down link, but you can see that there are a number of other smart chips that may be available too. Now, we won't be able to get all of them. We'll only be able to get 3 different types using this approach. Okay, so let's have a look up here and back to the documentation, and we can see what chips we can grab. So we know we can get a date. That's good. We can get a rich link. Excellent. And we can get a person chip too. It'd be nice if they said chip here. That would make a bit more sense. We also can see here that we can get unsupported. So if any of these chips are not supported by DocumentApp, then it will display unsupported. So that'll give us a good notification inside our retrieved text to tell us, hey, we couldn't read it. So what we're going to do now is create a callback method inside our getBodyWithChips function. And every time it finds an element, it's going to look through a bunch of stuff. So the first thing it's going to look through is the body here that we retrieve. Let's just create this method and we'll call it function element iterator. And this element iterator is going to take in a parent element. Sweet. Okay, so let's add in some JS doc comments here just to describe this to our future self. Okay, so here we go. So let's just zoom in one level. So let's have a look at this method. So it iterates over the child elements. Now we've got a param here and it's described in the JS doc as DocumentApp.body, but in fact this is a placeholder for any of the other elements. They'll retrieve all the data that we need in our autocompletes below. And then we're going to return a string of our body text. Cool. So let's just call that straight away. So we can say element iterator, and our parent is going to be the body this time. And now let's work on this method here, this callback method. So the first thing we need to do is list the total number of children in the current parent element. And in this case, it's going to be the body element. So if we have a look at our document here, the child elements in the body parent are going to contain this table of contents, this entire paragraph, this header, another paragraph here, and then these list items, and so on. So what we'll do is create a variable const num children is equal to parent dot get num children. Sweet. Now that we have the total number of children, we can iterate over each one of these elements and read what data that they provide. But before we get too carried away, let's just do a quick console log num children. Make sure our initial stuff is all hunky-dory. Okay, so let's just change our function to getBodiesWithChips and hit run. And we can see we have 42 children in the body and we currently have 0 text. That's okay. Good, let's get rid of that console log. Now, of course, you can always use the debugger to look at these things as well. It's just depending on your needs. So if we click on debugger, we can see that the number of children here are 42, and we can actually look at the parent data and what's involved in that as well. Okay, let's get rid of that point. Nice. Okay, so let's create our loop. So we won't do any functional iterators here. We'll just keep it simple. We'll just say for let I equal 0. I is less than the number of children, and then I ++. Super simple for loop. And now, once we're inside each iteration of the children, we need to grab the child, right, of the parent. So we need to say const element, we'll call that the element because it is, and then we'll say parent dot get child. And how are we going to get the child? Well, by the child number, child index, as you can see here. The next thing we need is the element type. So we could say const type is going to be equal to element dot get type, and this is going to return an enumerator. So if we log this type, it's going to return an ugly mess of an enumerator object. So let's hit save and run. And it's going to go on forever for 42. Do we need to do that? Not really, so let's stop. Okay, so to actually see what the current enumerator is, so we can actually use the function name to retrieve what the current type is. So let's just go and hit run and you'll be able to see. Cool, so now we've got a list of our paragraph, table of contents, paragraphs, and so on and so forth. Let's just keep that console log up there. It's kind of handy for us. So how are we doing? Next thing we need to do is we've got a whole bunch of element types. If we just have a look over here, you can see we've got a whole bunch of different type of element types that we can look through and get text from. So the best approach here, I think, is to create a switch statement and input the type, and then create a bunch of cases to handle for these. All right, so our first case is going to be if the type is equal to, and here we can use these enumerators here to call to compare against the enumerator type that is retrieved. So we can say DocumentApp element type, and our first one we might want to grab is the most common one we should expect, which is going to be the paragraph. And let's just so we can see what's happening, why don't we console log the element each time? Yeah, that's a good idea. We'll say child, and we're just using a template literal format here with the backticks, which will allow us to embed in a variable, which is going to be our iterator. So it's our iterator number. So child I is our paragraph. And essentially all we need to do now is just update the last bit every time we create a new case. Okay, if child I is in a paragraph, in paragraphs we can't actually read, well, we can read the text, but we're not going to be able to extract the links from the text or any other detailed parts of that text. So we need to break this down into a text element within the parent paragraph element. So we'll actually have to call our elementIterator again and send the element as paragraph. Cool, so it's going to send that back into this elementIterator and start this for loop just for this new parent of paragraph, which means it'll look through each section of text. And a paragraph will contain a number of text elements, and those text elements are broken up by their attributes. So for example, whether they're bold or have a different background color as other text elements, or more importantly for us, if they have a link. Okay, so that's our first case completed. So why don't we do a break there, and we may as well do a little test. And we should be able to see every time there's a paragraph here, child is a paragraph there. But when we get to a table of contents, you won't see child is a paragraph under that. We'll handle for that in a moment. Cool. All right, let's look at our next case. So our next case is going to be very similar. So let's just grab all of this here and duplicate. That's a Shift, Alt, and down arrow. And we want to change this paragraph to list items. So these are those dot point items that we had. Okay, so if it is a list item, then we can change this to list item. And then we need to change this element as something else. So as list, there it is there, item. And that's a function, cool. So that'll capture all the list items. And let's just put a space down here to make it a bit clearer to see what we're doing. And another case like this where we have to send things back to the elementIterator to find the text is going to be for tables. So if we have a look at our sheet here, we've got a bunch of tables here, and indeed we can nest tables inside tables. Tables are the world turtle of Google Workspace. So we need to make sure that we can iterate through every single table until we can reach the text that we want here. And each one of these texts is going to be in its own paragraph. So let's just duplicate this and change this over to table now. So if the type is a table, we want to get the element as a table. Tables are broken down into a number of things. So the outer parent will be a table element. Then the next child is going to be table row. So each one of these rows across here is going to be an element, and that will contain an array of table cells. And of course, inside those cells will contain an array of other elements like paragraphs or other tables. Okay, so we're there. Let's do those three options as well. So, we forgot to update this. Let's say table, and then we'll do another console log test. So let's do this 2 more times, and we'll get now a dot table row will be first. Is a table row. Oh, row. And next one is going to be a table cell. And we need to adjust this as table row. There it is there. And as table cell. There we go. Nice. All right, let's see. Let's put a bit of spacing in here. There we go. We'll hit save. And we'll hit run. And see what sort of results we get. Actually, I'll just chuck it up in the right-hand side here. Okay. There we go. Makes it easier. Okay, so our little element iterator here is really starting to work hard. The first time it sees a child element, it's going to be a paragraph, and inside the paragraph is going to be a table of contents. Yeah, fair enough, that's a table of contents. Next one should be a paragraph again, containing text. So let's have a look. So then the subsequent child is going to be a paragraph, and that will contain text, but we haven't really handled for text yet. The next item was going to be a paragraph, but it's an empty paragraph. There's just a space, as you can see here. Spaces are considered paragraphs between text. And then we've got our child 3 here is going to be a paragraph, and that contains text here. Yeah, fair enough. So we've got text here. And then it's got this unsupported range here as well, which is a bit weird. So that's the unsupported drop-down menu. So remember, the drop-down chip isn't supported with Google Document App at the moment. And then after that chip is another text. Cool. Then the next one we should see is a header. So we've got a paragraph here, and so it'll be space, then a paragraph, and that paragraph is going to contain a child, which will be that header here, which is just a paragraph with a particular attribute, which is the header one. Let's have a little look down. Let's see if we can find some table action. So Control F, table. There we go, there's a table here. Once we hit a table, it checks the table row, and then on the first row, it's going to check the table cells. And then inside those table cells, it's going to grab a paragraph. It's going to grab the next cell in the table row array, the next cell in the table row array, and so on and so forth, until it has to go to the next row in the table array. And then it'll do the same thing. Okay, cool. I hope that's clear. All right, so everything seems to be working here so far. So let's go back and have a look at create another case. And this time we're going to create a text case. And this is going to be our heavy lifter. Plug in this console log here, console log, and that's going to be text. Text, lots of X's. And then we want to create a text element. So const text L, EL, is equal to element dot as text. Now we need to dig into the as text a fair bit here. So what we might do is just include a type to this function using JSDoc to help us autocomplete correctly. And this is going to be DocumentApp dot text. Nice. And now we'll have auto completion on this text element, which is correct. And we can create another function here called text to add. And that's going to be equal to text element dot get text. Okay. Now we could stop there and just simply, let's put in break first and then head back up. And we can stop here and just simply go text plus equals text to add and have a little look at our results. And you can see all the text that we've found so far is in here. Now we've managed to get a fair bit of the text, but we haven't handled for a number of other conditions at the moment. And our text is kind of squished all together, which we don't want to. So what we could do here is say, remember when we get into these child text items here, let me show you. So we've got a paragraph here, which is the third element of the body parent. And inside that element, it recalls the elementIterator and starts iterating from 0 here. So the first child is a text, so it's going to contain text. And then we'll have that unsupported range, which is that drop down. And then we'll have here. So it's going to grab this and then this one. But at the end of the last version of this iterator, so when this finishes here, this child of the paragraph, we probably want to do a new line just to space things out a bit more neatly. So let's go ahead and do that. So what we'll do is say, turn a new line if we're last in the paragraph, and we'll put a little if statement in here, and it's going to be I plus 1. So if we're at I plus 1, so we'll say if I plus 1, our currently iterated element is plus 1 is equal to the number of children, then we just want to say text plus equals a new line. Hit save, and we'll give that a spin. There we go. Things are looking better. Getting things on new lines. That looks a lot better. However, we do have a couple of things that we might want to grab as well. As you can see in this paragraph here, we have 3 different links that we want to extract out as well. And there could be other links in your document too that you wish to extract, but keep it near the text at the same time. So let's modify this case here to include those links. Now at this stage, if you don't want to do that, you can skip on to the next case we need to work on. But if you want to add links in, follow along. So when we grab a text from this paragraph, it's going to be one entire text inside the paragraph, but this paragraph is also going to be broken up into indices or an index of different areas. And those are going to be split by certain attribute types. They could be font styling, they could be color styling, or they could be links. And we want to look for those links. Now we can grab those indices pretty easily. So const indices. I don't want to spell this wrong, but I think I got it right this time. Const indices, text element. So we're going to grab our text element, and we can see here it will say get text attribute indices. Yes, I did spell it right. Woohoo. Okay. Why don't we just add in a console log for a bit of research for us here, which will contain our text to add, and our indices. Cool nanas. Give it a quick spin. Add in log, that'd be even better. And you can see on each one of these text items, there are different elements here. So we've got 0 to 4 for this text item here. So it's going to be that bold range. And what these indices do, we can see body text. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that should be a body range here. If we go back to our text here, if we scroll up the top, we'll see all this body text here. That would be an indice. And then the next indice is going to be from that body text to the end. Now the last value is not going to be counted. Indice list. As you can see here, it's not counted. Here's another good example of some indices that would be broken up. We've got bold italic text, so we know there's going to be a whole bunch of different indices broken down here. So that's okay. Let's just close that for now. All right, so we've got our indices worked out. Now, next thing we need to do is create an offset. So we need to add the URL link to our list. So let's say add URL if a link. Now, to do this, we're going to actually add to the current text with the URL and some formatting to make it a little bit clearer. That means our text to add is going to change in size, and we need to account for that as we're iterating over this text to add a string element. So this means we need to generate an offset of text. So we can say let offset equal, and it's going to currently be 0. Now let's iterate over these indices. So we can say for let j equal 0. J is less than indices dot length j plus plus. Nice. And now we need to grab our starting position, and that's going to be the currently iterated indices. So we will say const start pos is equal to indices position j. And in that position, we need to look to see if that current position holds a link. So we can go const link, and here we'll say equals text element dot get link URL. And the get link URL has two approaches. One is just a general get link URL, but this one tells us that we can set an offset of a certain indice to find if there is a link. So that means if the entire paragraph has a link, we could just leave it empty, but most cases it's not going to be. But if a certain part of the paragraph has it, then we want to find the indice first before we have a look at it. So we are going to now plug in the indice, which will be the start position. Nice. Okay, so this is going to check for the link. If it doesn't come up with the link, it will return null. So let's make a note here. Check for link. Okay, now, so if there is a link, we want to do something, right? If there isn't, we just want to continue on and just report the text. So if there is a link, so if there isn't a link, it'll say null and I'll continue on. But if there is a link, we want to console log the link first just to see if we can get that link. And just have a quick test there from there and hit save. Okay, let's have a look at that for the time being to see how we're going. Give it a run. There we go. So we'll say HTTP, so it's extracting this link here, which is going to be this one, and we'll have a Google and a Docs link here. Let's have a look at those, Google and a Google Docs link here. So we've got all those links, those three that came up. Good-o. Next thing we'll need to do is add those links into the text that we want to report. So let's use the markdown approach. So our markdown approach would look like this with Yagi-san today, and then the link, which would be https:// Yagi-san@today.com. So we want it looking like that inside our body text. Okay, so let's handle for that. Well, let's keep that there, eh? So there's a couple things we'll need to set up first. So let's get the current string length of the text to add. So it's just this one here. So we can reset our offset at the end of each iteration. So we'll go const string length is equal to text to add dot length. Then const, we need to check if we're at the end of these indices, and then we'll also need to include the difference between the length of the string and the final indice value. So we'll say is at end. So if we're at is at end, so anything we start with is typically is going to be a Boolean. And so if it is at the end, how are we going to test for that? So we'll say j plus 1 is equal to indices dot length. So if j plus 1 is equal to indices dot length, then we're at the end. Now let's grab an end position value so we can plug in this data here. So we'll say end position and pos is at end. Then let's use a ternary if statement-ish operator. So text to add dot length. So if we're at the end, our end position is going to be the length of the string. However, if we're not, it's going to be the indices, or the currently iterated indice value plus 1. So it's going to be the next indice value in the indices array. And it's also going to be plus the offset. Why plus the offset? Because we're going to add in, instead of it just displaying this Yagi-san Atade here, it's also going to display these braces, these curly brackets, and the URL. So we have to include the length of the new range here as well, which will be our offset. Okay, so now let's create a variable called let text with link equal, and then we're going to create this text with link here. So let's put this on a new line. So we want to grab the text to add, and we will get a substring of that. So substring, and it will be at position 0. We want to capture the first half of the text and the last half of the text if it exists. So 0, and this will be the first half, start position plus the offset. So it'll be the start position plus the offset. And then we're going to add to that a square brace, just one. And then we'll also add our text to add a substring, start position plus the offset. So it's going to get in that Yagi-san Atade bit, right, as the first position, and then the end position. Okay, so that gets the title of the link. And now we need to close that square bracket. So then we'll also add a close bracket. And then we're also going to add in there the link, right? So it's going to be inside our curved braces. We want to include, we're going to use backticks here. All right. And that's going to be our link up here, right? This one. Nice. Okay, so now we've got that. We need to determine if we're at the end of the text or if we've got more text to add in. So let's just check our text to add. So let's just go and add in our text to add. So we're going to add to our text to add here, text to add again. And we'll use another ternary operator here. So if the text to add is at end, then we just need to add in this text with link. If it's not at the end though, we need to add the text with link plus the text to add dot substring this time to get the last part of the string text, right? So substring, and that's going to start at the end position here. Nice. Let's do a little test with a console log here. So console.log, let's see. We'll call it link check. All right, link check here. Let's put in a couple of values here. We'll say text to add dot length, our string length, and the text to add. And just see how that goes for now. And hit run. 107, let's have a look, 107. Okay, so we've assigned text to add as a constant variable. So we need to now change it to a let variable so it can change. Let's hit save, have another crack. Nice, seems successful up here. Let's have a look. And let's just search for, okay, link check, there we go. All right, so we've got start and end points. So we can see that the title's been put in the square braces and the URL has been put inside here, inside the curved braces, and then the text at the end has been appended to it. So my site, Yagi-san Atade, and then 3 exclamation marks. Let's have a look over our text, make sure we haven't deleted anything. So my site, comma space, yep, goodo. So that's been there, the name and the URL, and then 3 exclamation marks. So that's been put in the correct spot. Okay, we can see here on the next iteration, we've got a bit of craziness going on. That's fine, we'll handle for that with our offset update in a moment. So what we want to do, you can see, we've got a curly braces starting here. We've got a square brace starting here when it shouldn't, which is fine. Let's handle for that issue now. So let's just go down underneath here and let's update our offset. So offset plus equals text to add. And our text to add, our offset's going to be text to add length plus, so the current length of the text to add plus the string, so the original string length. So remember this new text to add has the new length in it, and we need to also, subtract that from the string length of the original text to add length here. So let's hit save and see how that goes and run. Nice, we can actually see it in here now. So we've got my site here, we've got these square brackets around the right location the first time, and then we've got Google, curved brackets around the URL, good. Some more text, square brackets, curved brackets around the URL. And I'm sure if we have a look again at this next script, we can see that everything has been correctly positioned. Yeah, so we've got that there. Nice. It iterates around the third time, and then that's perfectly done. Cool. We've handled for that. That's our text. Okay, have we completed our text case? Yes, we have. Great. Okay, so that was the most challenging part of this entire script. So if you made it through this bit, congratulations. On to some easier stuff. Okay, so now let's have a look at our chips that we can add. So remember, we can add the date chip, the rich link chip, and the person chip. So we need to account for that in our cases. So let's go case, document, app, dot, element type. And the first one we'll handle for is this date chip here. Nice. And we'll do that same console log. So let's just copy this one. Copy, paste to Rooney is date. Nice, so we've landed on a date chip. And let's now, we'll say const date element is equal to element dot as date. And let's also add in a JS doc type just so it auto completes properly. So we can go alt type, what was it? Document app dot date. Nice. Everyone's happy now. And here in the date element, we can get a number of things. So let's have a look. So date L and dot, we can see we can get the display text. So the type, the date that's actually being displayed. Let's have a look. This is one here. So the display text here. What else can we get? The locale, so that's going to be the date format based on the locale you're in. So English locale, English UK, could have an Indian locale, which changes the date somewhat. You could have a Japanese locale or a German locale, which will also change the date somewhat, which might be important for you to add in. And then also we'll include the timestamp. Let's have a crack at adding them into our body. And of course, you can chop and change what you want to add in here. So let's just do all three for completeness. Display date is date. There we go. Pretty error. Date element is get display text. Nice. Const timestamp. Okay. Significantly more different to a tramp stamp. Get timestamp. Const locale. Date element dot get locale, and I don't think there's anything else we really want to add in here. So let's now append that to our text. We could say text plus equals, put a space in so it doesn't blend into the previous text, and let's say the date is going to display $, curly braces, display date, comma, timestamp. And the reason why I got it like this, it just makes it easier if in our code later on we need to extract this text using regular expressions, then we've got some key phrases that we can search, and then whatever's adjacent to that we can extract out. So timestamp, $, bink, and that's going to be timestamp. stamp, comma, locale, break. Save. And we're just going to grab this here and copy that. Hit runsies and see if we can find that in our results. Okay, so we made it all the way down to the bottom here, and now we have our date. We've got the display, 27th of December, timestamp. Oh, we've got the p. There we go. Save that one. What else? And this is the timestamp. So this is what usually display if you print new date or something in JavaScript. Then the locale, English Great Britain. And then the next date we have available is this one, and that's also printed too. Cool bananas. All right, let's go for our next chip case. And this one is going to be the rich link. Let's just copy this down, paste it in, add it in first. So as I mentioned before, the rich links are these ones here. So if you're adding in @ here and then you've got a bunch of files and you want to click on a file here, then that's going to be your rich link. Now, at this stage in our little coding adventure here, I just want some full disclosure. I am not a fan of chips, purely because I'm a developer and they do, as you have found here, they're not properly handled for in DocumentApp, nor are they handled for in the other services that we could use to try and extract them. Until which time all of the chips are available, I rarely put them in documents, and I discourage my clients from using them too. Another disadvantage of having these chips in a Google Doc is if you're interchanging these documents to other services or other software types, like a docx file or a open document file, then these chips won't be read. So by adding a chip, you're building this walled garden in your document and making it a lot harder for it to be moved to somewhere else should another user use a different type of software, or you want to move away from Google Workspace at some stage. Okay, rant over, let's keep on coding. Okay, so let's make another type. This type is going to be DocumentApp rich link, const rich link element is equal to element dot as rich link bink. And here let's have a look what we can get. Oh, Rick. So we'll say const title is equal to rich link element dot, and here we can get a number of things as well. So we can get the title of the link, which is going to be this displayable title here, or we can get the URL. We can even get the mim.me type, which is the file type that it displays as well. So let's get all three of those different types now. So the title is going to be get title, then const URI, rich link element get URL. I know it says get URL here, but it's actually more accurately a URI. Const type going to be rich link element get type. There it is there. Beautiful. Cool. And let's just add it all in. So text plus equals backticks again. And this is a standard link, so we'll use our markdown style here link with some $signs to get the title. Then we want the URI, URI, and then just outside of all this, we'll just say type is equal to. Okay, let's hit run. How did we go here? So we should see some links. We should see one of these links. We only provided one here. So it's this one here, which is adding conditional formatting rules. And then this contains a URL link here. And then our type is a rich link. Oh, no, we got that wrong. Haha, that's why we test. We want to say get min.me type. Let's give that a spin. All right, so the min.me type is now here, and then it's a application spreadsheet. Yay, success. Whew. So our next case is going to be DocumentApp dot element type dot person. Okay, so we'll do the console log again. And we'll do this type thing here. Let's just grab those 2 rows. And then D, which is a person, and as person. There we go, updated. So for a person element, oops, that should be K. Let's see if this works. Okay, cool. So for our person element, we can get their name and their email, which is kind of handy. So let's go const email equals person element get email const name equals person element dot get name. There it is there. And let's just add that into our text. Text plus equals name. Add in a name here. And then in here, I think you actually, traditionally you go mail to, right? Colon, and then you add it in. Could be wrong. We'll see. That's fine. It's just for us. Mail to email, and that's all we need there. Let's break. Oh, we didn't break the previous one. Naughty us. Break. There it is. Whew, crisis averted. Excellent. Let's hit run now. All right, so we should have a email somewhere in here. Yeah, mail to. Oh, I'm glad we put that in there. So that's the tester account we added in, which should be this one here. Excellent. All right, just 2 more to go. So our next case is we want to, if we have a look at what we got so far, we might want to also get the table of contents data here. So we've got a table of contents here. We might just want to list that at the top. So we can say case here, document app dot element type dot table of contents. There it is. I'll just add this in. Let's just add all of that to, we'll call that table of contents. And then we could say as table of contents. There we go. And then this one's going to be dot table of contents. And what should we call this? TOC. Call it TOC. It's pretty common. Okay, so we've got that table of contents now. What can we get from it? Not a lot. Let's say TOCL dot get. Okay, so we could get a link URL. That's just going to get the link that's going to take us to header 2, and not entirely useful when we're just printing text, but you might find that handy if you're doing some other work. So keep that in the back of your head. For us, we just want the text, I think, is the only thing useful for us. So we'll say get text. And let's make a constant out of that. It's const. Actually, we can just plug that in, hey? Text plus equals a backtick in here. I suppose we could label it with a TOC. TOC, blah. Close the backtick off. I could probably put a new line in there too, eh? Thinking about it too. Yeah, I think that's good. Because after the table of contents, we just want a new paragraph to start, so that new line's important. All right, hit save, run. Okay, there it is. There's our header 1, header 2. Might even, maybe new line there as well. TOC header 1, header 2. There's a space there though. Yucky. Put that there. Oh, that looks more pretty. Look at that. There's our headers. Cool bananas. Our very last case. Document app element type dot unsupported. So these are for all the other chips that are available, not supported by DocumentApp at present. So unsupported. And let's just do this again. Just all of this. And just simply add to our text plus equals, let's all caps this because we're enraged. I'm sure the developers are madly trying to add it in. So don't be too cranky with them, I guess. unsupported region. More funding for the developers. Management, more funding for the developers. Okay. And, oh, we didn't do a break again. Maybe I need a break. Nearly at the end though. Look at that. Done. Let's hit run. Looks good. Put it on the big screen. Okay, and our only unsupported item here is this unsupported region here, which is this drop-down menu here. If we added in some other unsupported regions, they will also pop up as well. Let's just add in one just for fun. Insert, I don't know, smart chip, a voting chip, for example. Voted. I voted. Look at me voting. Okay, let's run it again. All right, so now we've got, where was that put here? The end is here. Cool, so the unsupported region's been added in. Oh, just one exclamation mark. Let's put in another one. Let's put that third one in, just for gravitas. Another one here too. There we go, rock and roll, save, run. There we go. All sorted. That's with all our extra stuff in here as well. So what have we got that's missing? One glaring thing that is missing is this region here. Now, unlike in our really easy script here for runsies, where it will display this code block, we don't have access to the code block here, which is a little bit frustrating. Now, while there is an equation element here, the elements in this equation do not report in the body text string correctly, creating errors. So I've left the equation element out. And again, we're not getting all of the chips that we desire. So there's pros and cons for each approach here. Now, on the bright side, I did do a little bit of digging into the enum, and let's have a little just run at this test. Any one of these, it doesn't really matter what we're looking at, I guess. But you can see in the enum that there is a variable here. So that would match this variable chip here. And there's also a code snippet chip as well. So that's going to come in handy in future. Hopefully that means that the Google development team might be implementing this in the future. Fingers crossed. But at the moment, in our, our elements here, we can see that there is not a code snippet here, nor is there a variable down the bottom here to be added. So fingers crossed, this is what the developers are working on. Alrighty, nice. In our next tutorial, we are going to take a different approach, and we're going to use the Google Drive Advanced Service API to generate an OCR. So an OCR is a way of looking at this optically and then viewing the text and then just displaying what the text is. So like, subscribe, and if you want to know when the next tutorial comes out, hit that notification bell. Until next time.